What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 70 of Value Town. I'm ChanManV, and joining me today is Noxious, of course. What's up, Noxious?
Yes. Not much, dude. Just kind of came in a bit late, which is why maybe we're running a tiny bit later than we usually do. But I'm happy to be doing this. Like, it's the second one we have after the expansion, and I'm pretty excited because there's a lot to say right now. There's a ton, actually.
Yeah,
Too much.
Absolutely. No problem, man. I was just sitting here chilling with our guest today, our first-time guest from Team Archon, Zalae. How's it going, buddy?
It's going great. Happy to be here. Excited to leaving for DreamHack tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah.
We all are,
right?
there,
dude.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
Definitely going to be awesome. You're going to be casting, right, Noxious? And then Zalae, you're playing.
I'm playing, yeah.
Right. Yeah. You're not casting, Zalae? You sure?
No, not this time.
Would be cool, though, honestly. I think Zalae did a pretty good job at the House Cup. It was an amazing casting day.
Yeah, definitely. That house go. That was definitely epic. Definitely epic.
It was,
It
was so much
I did a
fun,
really
man.
good job of drafting Noxious. That was a smart move on my part.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that. I can appreciate that move. I thought it made total strategic sense.
All right, guys. Well, anyways, we got obviously lots of things to talk about. Oh, those of you wondering about Reynad. Reynad is a traveling man right now, so isn't able to make it today, but hopefully we'll have him back next week. We haven't kicked him off or anything like that, so people go crazy if one of us is gone for 1 week. So yeah. Anyways, he'll be back. But this week, what we're going to talk about is obviously our week in Hearthstone, kind of what we've been doing, maybe some things that have been going on Reddit. One particular thing I saw last night that I think we should talk about involving BlizzCon points. Then we're going to be talking about cards. We'll spotlight a few cards just to talk about. Not your most obvious cards, just some cards that I think maybe is still worth discussing. And then we'll talk about some decks, some fun decks, some try-hard decks, and then transition over to meta talk, what we think we're going to be seeing this weekend at DreamHack, and what are some decks that are very powerful on the ladder right now. At the end, viewer Q&A, of course, with you guys. Tweet those questions to @ChanManV, and I'll try to get to them just at the very end. So we'll try to get to as many as we can, because we've been kind of skimping lately on the questions, so feel free to do that. Okay, so let's talk about our week in Hearthstone. So what have you guys been up to in terms of the game? Zalae, I'll have you start off.
Well, just a few days ago, I finished my end-of-season try-hard ladder climb, trying to finish top 100 legends so I can get those BlizzCon points, qualify for BlizzCon, win all that stuff, and I failed. I finished at Legend 135. I think that's
It's fine.
It felt really bad. I tried super hard, and I came up short. So I was playing Patron. I think the deck is good. I think I could have played it a little better. I think I maybe could have played a better version. I think I could have spent more hours playing better versions because I spent a lot of time doing stupid stuff, probably. But yeah, that's what I've been up to. I played a bunch of Patron. I played some troll decks on stream. That's what I've been
doing. So stupid stuff meaning you're playing Augur in the deck, or what?
It's a pretty good card.
No, I did not try Augur. I guess a lot of people were excited about that. I don't know. It didn't seem too appealing to me. I was playing more aggressive versions. I do like a Wrathy Weaponsmith as at least a one of.
Really?
It's a card that people haven't seen in forever. Because, I think it's a good card. It just didn't see play because Deathbite is a different 4-mana weapon and much better. But with Deathbite out of the way, you really want those weapons to enable Battle Rage and to control the board. And so I think Wrathy Weaponsmith is at least a solid one of, maybe even a two of.
Yeah, that's a great point because I was trying to build Pirate Warrior, and one of the considerations I had was, do I put in Arcanite Reaper or Wrathy Weaponsmith? And the thing is, Reaper is going to turn your Pirate deck into something of a, well, let me just go full face. Whereas if I put Weaponsmith, I'm committing to a crazy board control strategy. And I realized very quickly, I'm going to run out of steam with this Pirate deck more often than I like.
Yep.
And in that case, Reaper is better. But if I come up with a list that's able to play for the board, then, the Weaponsmith is an auto replacement, I think, for Reaper. So.
Yeah. We're definitely going to be talking about the Pirate decks. Actually, both of your Pirate decks. I've tried too, but I'm not going to, I don't actually have the list on me. So we'll definitely compare the two of you guys' Pirate deck. That's cool. Yeah, Wrathy Weaponsmith. I haven't played it in so long. It's been beta, I think, since I've played that card, or outside of Arena, of course. But there was a time where a lot of people ran it. At least maybe the Arms Warrior back in the day, just super crazy. Aggro, just however many weapons you can get. But that's very, very cool. How about you, Noxious? What have you been doing this week?
Well, to be honest with you, I've been busy with family stuff, but for the most part, Hearthstone-wise, I'll be honest, I've been looking around at a lot of the things that people have been talking about. The Pirate Warrior is one that I built. I've played a ton of decks on stream that were ranging from good to bad. My best deck on stream, I think, was something like a N'Zoth Priest. I think N'Zoth Priest is like I think N'Zoth overall, right, is like the most powerful old god that we've got access to. Some people may disagree, but I think. Consistency wise, he's the best, and the fact that we have so many like the Corrupted Heal Bot is a card that I tried to make work like as a tempo tool, but it sucks unless N'Zoth, because suddenly you have like a late game 6/6 that comes with the wave of everything else, and it's a beatdown tool because they never get health back from it. But like it's just one of those things. Like N'Zoth Priest was super fun to play. Priest in general, I'd say was great fun, and also Rogue. Like
Rogue's a ton.
Goodness, Rogues are fun right now.
It's just fun decks, I can't good even, decks, whatever decks, man. It's
they're a mix of like they're like a mix of both right now. I think one of the decks that I haven't seen enough of, and that I think is actually deserving of way much more spotlight than it's getting, is Hyper Aggro Rogue. Like I think that list is ridiculous right now, but I haven't seen enough people run it.
Why is it any better than it used to be? Because I don't feel like there's anything ultra aggro.
The 1-mana 1/2, the 1-mana 1/2 that becomes a 2/3 on the coin.
Okay.
Like one thing, there's no Sludge Belcher. So...
One thing that makes aggro better in general right now is just like all of the good defensive tools are gone, right? Zombie Chow, Belcher, Healbot, gone. So if you just have any kind of reasonable aggro deck that you can throw together, it has a real shot.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I remember playing, I don't know how many seasons ago, but I played like aggro rogue like an entire season once, or most of the season, and I felt like the combo at the end was like really important. Whether it was oil or whatnot, just that finish. And I don't know if we still have that kind of finish with.
Well, I mean, you don't play Deadly Poison in that list. Like that's what I'm talking about. It's not going to be dependent on your weapon at all. In fact, you want to replace it. You play Finley to get life tap and whatnot. So it's just one of those things like Buccaneer too.
Yeah,
pretty much. There's no point.
Okay,
but I mean, lots of stuff. There's just lots of stuff.
Cool, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of I've been along the same lines as you. I've just been trying everything. I haven't even trying to climb. I'll just literally play a deck for about 5 or 7 games, and then I'll switch like completely different stuff just to get as much feel for everything as possible. So I've been playing things from Hunter, just like your typical mid-range with just various combinations of, just beasts and death rattles. N'Zoth too. I've actually tried N'Zoth Hunter too. To even Beast Druid. Beast Druid and Ramp Druid. It's kind of interesting.
Beast mid-range
Druid is kind of
dude.
interesting. Yeah, I definitely learned a few things.
Way too much butt.
Yeah, I don't know if it kicks a ton of butt, but it's definitely better than I thought it was. And then let's see, some other things are just mostly understanding N'Zoth and on all the different classes. I think I've been trying. And like you said, I think it's the most consistent old gods that you can use, and even more so than Cthulhu. And Cthulhu has class-specific cards that are made for Cthulhu, so it's been pretty interesting. But definitely a lot of fun. Yeah.
Like one of the things that also like Shaman, just in general, I'm really surprised. Like I am astonished. Like I thought maybe given another week, from the last Value Town, I thought maybe just maybe Blizzard had something internally that just consistently removed 4-mana 7/7 off the board, and people would run double polymorph or polymorph boar, a deadly shot, and like Hunter's Mark at 1 would be good. But it's just like no. Like there's a point where you just can't do it. And so far, like even though we've seen decks that can compete with it, it seems like the goal is to just race the shaman. Just race them.
Yeah.
Or have something for the 7/7. Or have something for the 7/7. One or the other.
Tapping it's really good.
Yeah.
It's one thing you can do.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
That also happened this week.
One other thing too is I hosted a fireside gathering with Strelzik this past weekend, and we had an e-sportal moment in our tournament. We have these. We run the fun kind of tournaments that we had there, not like HCT tournaments with points and stuff, but we usually do something fun there. And in the finals, we had Foos, who's a legend player. He was running Freeze Mage and was winning easily, and it was against a shaman, like a Darwin shaman. And, it's not to win, set up lethal, had Alexstrasza out, right? Set up lethal, and the evolved shaman just out of desperation just evolved. I forgot what 7-drop. He had just evolved the previous round, so he had some kind of 7-drop on the board, and then he used Master of Evolution, and then got Raglight Light Lord.
Yeah.
And it literally Foos was one short of lethal and then lost because of it. No, it was so awesome.
That feels like, I don't know. Like, I
was
really was
amazing.
hoping that Evolve would never see any competitive play whatsoever. I was
Yeah.
adamant that if a card like that had to be made, Blizzard would make the call that, yeah, it has to be like 3, they made Infest 3 mana.
Yeah.
Okay? Just like
Right.
put that put that in context, and then you've got Evolve on the other end, where you just, I mean, Circle of Healing heals my minions. Evolve does that, plus like makes them better on average.
Except for
yeah,
you
I
get
don't know,
Doomsayers.
Pre-synergy.
Sure, I agree. Like, your 1-drops become Doomsayers every single time without fault. But you know,
Right.
it's just it's been fascinating to me to see the shamans and how they perform. But it's still a very positive thing that we see shaman come back,
Yeah.
especially in tournaments. It'll matter less, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm just hoping that aggro shaman I'm either hoping that events will allow you to play multiple decks of a class or some way of doing it, whether it's single class type of tournament or the aggro shaman just doesn't become just default the best one, so everybody just plays it. So we'll never see any of the other shamans, which would be unfortunate.
Doomhammer.
Yeah, I
Dude,
know.
I want
know.
to be able to play multiple decks of one class. Like,
That'd be awesome.
I would really
right?
like to show up to a tournament with just like 4 warrior decks and
Oh
see what
my
I can do.
Oh man,
You'd be the right guy to play that, right? Like, on one front, I see I see Show play warrior, and I'm like, yeah,
that's what he would
control
do, for
warrior
sure.
though, right?
Yeah.
But then I look at Zalae, I'm like, nah, just warrior. It doesn't matter what it is, just
I'll do
as long
anything.
as it's armoring up.
I don't even need to armor up anymore. I'll play Finley. Let's go. Pirate warrior. I like it.
Exactly.
I love it.
I don't know what
Thanks,
kind
man.
of rule. I mean, what type of rule or parameter you would have to set though, because it can't just be it just has to be different because then one person will just change a single card, type
Right.
of thing. So it'd have to be something like 15 cards are different or something like that.
Yeah, but then you lose. Like, some classes just don't even play in that event, right?
You could do like the
Yeah.
Highlander
Priest
rule,
just
where
says,
like
I'm
max 2
out.
a card.
Max 2 a card. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
you get
like
2
the
fire
double
war axes
Highlander?
for your entire lineup.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's kind of interesting. Yeah, that could be a good thing. Okay, well, let's talk about something that came up on Reddit last night, actually, and involved BlizzCon points for HCT. Man, I feel like this keeps coming up like every so often, every couple months. Just a quick summary. Basically, Firebat posted this Reddit thread that was all about his experience this past weekend. Played at a tournament. I believe it was in Canada. And he
EGLX?
I think it was EGLX, yeah. Was it EGLX? Yeah. I think it was.
I'm not sure if he was doing EGLX, but there were 2 tournaments going on at the same time that had the same issue, I think, simultaneously.
And, Copa. It was Copa.
Spring prelim.
Yeah,
Right.
Copa and EGLX.
Copa and EGLX were going on at the same time.
Yeah, so Firebat flew out there specifically because he was short, of qualifying for the spring championships. In fact, he was 1 short, 1 point short of qualifying for the spring championship. So he flew out there, competed in it, got enough points. Everybody was happy. I think even people were celebrating on stream. Like the casters and stuff were even talking about like just folks that qualified because of it. And then found out later that because of the time the tournament ended, which was the following day because it ran past midnight, that those points didn't count. And it didn't count for Copa America either. It didn't count for either of those tournaments that were taking place over the weekend. And one of the issues was that the cutoff date for the spring championship, qualifying for the points, was announced maybe 2 weeks from now. So it was like a week and a half or a week before the tournament. So tournament organizers, they can't do anything about that, right? And I guess what we should discuss here is that obviously Firebat and a lot of other players who went to these tournaments for the sake of trying to qualify for spring championships got screwed, right? And we should discuss it. So Noxious, I'll let you start off.
Well, I'm not going to be very long on the matter, but basically, like, the reason Copa, I think, ended up not giving points in the end was because Firebat brought up that they did. And if it hadn't been for him, I think, sounding the alarm, the points would have probably not been taken away, unless somebody might have done it. But just the point is,
Firebat.
Blizzard had no clue what was going on until a player bitched about it, and that really is the thing that bothers me in this. I'm not obviously mistakes happen. It's a big company. It's a small indie dev, team as well. So it's really, like I can see like human error happening in the process. However, I think it's just weird that they chose to revoke all the points. I would have assumed that if they had already given points away, it would be simpler to give it to the event that hadn't done so. I don't know why I expected that because it was May 1st on the date of the cutoff. Like, why 3 a.m.? Number one, like that's really weird. You don't have the time zone. You don't have any information as to what exactly that entails. But I thought like being in the same day would qualify both events. But the reasoning of Blizzard was obviously different. They thanked Firebat for signaling the problem, and then they went on their way to remove the points from everyone, probably pissing off more than Firebat in the process. Congrats, Firebat! You fucked up everybody's life.
Well,
Firebat.
I mean, Firebat's just looking for fairness, right? Because like he buys a ticket to go out to this tournament and plays in it and does well, and then finds out that he doesn't get the whole reason he was going for it, which is like the whole situation is just a disaster. And I would really like to see this not ever happen, but I guess it did. And what can you say? That's awful for all of those players who got screwed, and looks really bad for competitive Hearthstone. But what can you do?
You just gotta flip. Like, not only do you have to flip a coin while they play the game, but you also have to flip a coin as to whether or not your event will give points. Who knows? Maybe it will, maybe it won't. You just gotta just give it to the RNG gods. Who knows which CM is gonna be on the other end of the line at the end of your problems? Who has a clue? I don't.
Yeah.
Okay, so
but yeah, like it's just a miscommunication issue, right?
Well, it's a
the BlizzCon.
Well,
the BlizzCon point system as a whole, just they could do a better job of organizing the system and cleaning it up and all that. I would say.
Yeah,
there's just a lot of problems.
There's no question. I mean,
it's big and messy.
I think that for the Winter Championship, some of these things happened. Obviously, some folks were taking advantage of hosting, fireside events, right? And we had people manipulating that and giving themselves points. That happened all that, early on. I can, even though that's bad too, and then I can understand that more because. They announced this thing at BlizzCon, and a few months later it starts. It's just like a lot of things. I know happened very quickly, and a lot of things that are unforeseen can happen too. So the first season, okay, I can give them a pass on that. Now for spring season, no way. Like I know a lot of these people on the esports team, and I love these people to death. But come on, like we can't get these type of things wrong. I mean, we can't plan the cutoffs so late. For one, because these event organizers, I mean, they need at least some type of, just time to be able to market it, plan it. I mean, it's not that they're not giving any points; they're just giving it towards the summer instead of the spring. But they probably market it as a last chance type of tournament, and that's how they market it to guys like Firebat possibly too, and get these guys to come. So it really sucks from the standpoint of not obviously the players that flew out there, but as well as like event organizers too. So they have to get that right. And if you're announcing the dates so late, then you should have taken account those tournaments that were that weekend and just said May 2nd.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Unless there's some kind of legal thing where you have to have it on May 1st. I don't understand like why people aren't taking into account, I guess, some of these events that are being organized and the timing of it, and then how them announcing it so late affects them. They should make some compromise from that standpoint. So I mean, you could have, I don't understand it.
All you have to have really is like you could even have an addendum at the end that says, well, for this specific event, it will give points towards spring. Like that's it. You just say most of the event took place before whatever cutoff was, so we're going to have it award points for spring. Like you don't have, like, even assuming that you don't want to make up that crazy, well, all right, it's going to be like until 11:59 PDT on the May 1st. Right. Even if you don't want to go there, you just say, well, this is the last event that will give you points because it's the last one that started, I guess, before May was kind of over. So I don't know, not May, but April was over. So one of those things, it's one of those things where it's super simple to fix it, but you have to think about it, and I feel that's just oversight. There are miscommunication, oversight. Somewhere, someone forgot that they had to pay attention.
It is. It's definitely an oversight, but it's, it's just one of those things where it just looks bad, like Zalae was saying. Yeah. Anytime you make something like this, that could have been. I mean, it just takes a little bit of looking at the schedules and how they line up and what could potentially happen, right? Or maybe even talking to the event organizers, and then just in that discussion, some possible scenarios come out, and then you taking the right just the right moves to to prevent that from happening. It's just a few of those things. It's just like you can have this great Hearthstone Championship Tour, but we have to execute it right too. For it to actually look really good to just the esport community generally. And we can't do this because this makes some event organizers even very wary about even including the whole points thing. The whole point thing was supposed to involve all the events into the main storyline too. But I kind of see it as a synergistic thing. I see it both ways, right? Like it's good that all the big tournaments are involved in the main storyline too. And this is like, I don't know, this just makes it feel kind of crappy even from an event organizer standpoint.
Yeah, I have to wonder though if maybe the organizers shouldn't ask Blizzard when they make the event which season. Like they should specify it, right? In the rules list. Like as a player, when you read that stuff, like it'd be nice to know that it doesn't just give points; it gives points for whichever season, like a specific one. And Blizzard would have to dispatch that information to the organizers prior, so there's no false advertising, if you will.
Yeah. Something. Well, just some kind of. Just more notice. There has to be like a month notice or something, right? Where so the organizers again won't have like all their marketing in place and all these players already committed, and then all of a sudden something changes. You know what I mean? That's the worst thing is when it's a time thing. And of course we don't know what goes on Blizzard's side of things. I know like it's not transparent, of course, but from the standpoint of what we do know, it's like. We've had these things happen for a while now. There was like a couple of years ago, we actually had the week or two before the actual BlizzCon, the main tournament, qualifiers and things where people would be finding out when it is a week before, which is like crazy. So, I mean, obviously it's better now than that, but we've had, it's been consistently, things like this, just with the esports and Hearthstone. So hopefully we'll get this all straightened out soon. Hopefully spring will be the last, I guess, kinks that we see in this type of HCT championship.
Please let it be fixed.
Yes, please.
I don't care how they fix it. There's a lot of things they could do. Just let's not have any more issues like this.
Yeah.
Right. Like so. Like one last thing that I want to point out is like all of this is fairly recent, right? Because initially the 2015 in the early phases of 2015, I think it was very much like open, like whatever you guys want to do, just do it and have fun. But later they started kind of revamping the system to make it more streamlined and making specific events or like prioritizing specific events as far as the points go, trying to make sure that the right events were marketed as well, or better, giving them more support. And that happened like late last year, and like it hasn't been that long, just to put it that way. And it's just, I think it's going to take a little while before we get that system working. This is like one of those mistakes that will never happen again. I mean, I'm hopeful that it won't, because this is like a decent. Like Blizzard has had problems supporting their esports for every single game since the beginning of forever basically. And I think this is the first time that they actually start paying attention, very very much so, as opposed to kind of having some support and not caring. I think Hearthstone's grown big enough, and the esports scene in general beyond even Hearthstone is big enough that from now on this kind of stuff will not even be tolerated like internally. There will be simply like somebody's gonna bite the bullet.
You're fired.
You're fired, mate.
No.
But
they're trying to hire.
What I'm saying, it's a fairly recent system, and it's just I'm gonna give them time, basically, before I start absolutely bitching. For now, it's mostly funny. And
mostly funny.
This is not
funny to me.
It's definitely not funny.
Okay, so it's funny for me that this company, after so many fuck ups over the past year, would still pull that off. But I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. Like, there's no intentional harm being done there.
Oh, of course,
That's
it's not
all.
intentional.
Sure.
It's just this is the new major system too, right? Like this isn't what they did last year. If they would have met something up that was exactly the same as last year, then that would be like 3 or 4 or 5 times worse. This is at least still a new system, but we have to get it right. Even like we have to get as many things as we can get right the first time around. And hopefully summer things will go great and go smoothly, and then we can finish out everything and not have any of this type of scenario happening.
Yeah, but it's not funny, Zalae. You're right. Yeah. I didn't mean it that way. It's it's like
there's different ways to look at it. I get what you're saying.
Funny.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's get back to some more fun discussions. Let's talk about some cards. So this part of the show is more about just spotlighting a few cards, kind of like we do when we were evaluating them, pre-release. But now that's come out, figure we would pick a few cards that maybe not a lot of people are playing or don't have a great understanding of, and then talk about it and see if there's any potential for playing it or any kind of interesting angles to them. So first one we have is something that Noxious picked out. It's a Shaman card, yet another Shaman card, right? And it's called Primal Fusion. And Noxious, why don't you start off, because you're obviously the one that wanted to talk about this.
So Primal Fusion is the one cost buff for shamans that gives +1/+1 to a specific target based on the amount of totems that you have on the board. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things that's interesting is that this card basically, for now, at least I've seen very little of it. I've seen very little of it. But one of the things that I've realized, that I've noticed recently, is because the way that the games pan out, Shaman very often is able to protect their totems now. Like, nowadays, if there's for some weird reason they end up having 2 or 3 totems in mid-range Shaman at any given point in the game, and if they're able to just buff up a single minion with the fact that they have Totem Golem, Tuskar Totemic, just those two on their own make Primal Fusion playable. And if you stack up even just one additional totem, then 1 mana for +2/+2. I mean, you think the Mark of a Charge is good? I mean, it's not. It doesn't scale up, and it's also beast requirement. This is something that's a lot easier to enable, and if you can turn even that Totem Golem into a Yeti on turn 3, I've seen plays with this where you just coin out Totem Golem, turn 2 you make it a Yeti, and the guy's just like, I can't deal with this at all. It gives you a weird follow-up after a Totem Golem. I don't know if anybody else has tried that.
I haven't tried the card. Has anyone seen people playing it successfully, like in competitive environments, or like had a ladder success with it?
I don't actually think I've even seen it played. So
yeah. Well, my first thought when I look at the card is I come from a Magic background, and so in Magic, cards that buff minions are just terrible, and so I'm just like negatively biased against this card. But Hearthstone is a different game than Magic, and buffing your minion is way better in Hearthstone than Magic, because in Hearthstone, you get to trade your minion into their minion, so buffing your minion up is just a lot stronger. And so maybe I'm underrating this card. And like Noxious mentioned, the Totem Golem and Tuskar Totemic really make this a lot more powerful. I think at 1 mana, give a minion +2/+2. That's pretty strong. Obviously, +3/+3 is very strong. Question is, how often does that work? Yeah. I haven't tested it personally. I'd like to see it. If you can make this work, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Midrange Shaman is a pretty good test bed for that guy. So anyway, just putting it out there, I think that card is severely overlooked, and give it a shot.
Yeah, one mana +2/+2 happens quite a bit in those type of games. Like, I don't know what turn it is. It's not an early turn though, because it's not like Totem Golem.
It's actually pretty early, man. It's super early.
Like turn 4. It's like turn 4 or 5 actually, because if you have the coin, then it can be turn 4. If you don't have the coin, then it's probably it can be with Tuskar Totemic on turn 4 if the Totem Golem survives. So yeah, turn 4 or turn 5, I would say this is the kind of card. And I don't know, it almost corrects. It can actually be. You can look at it maybe as like an overload correction type of card too. Because
that's how I do it.
Because you get a lot of value for you get more value for one, like the mana cost, right? In this particular case, if it works out. So it's situational, but I don't know how good it. I mean, there's so many good cards for Shaman. It's like, where do you fit this in? Even if you did.
So here's the way I'm gonna put it. Like, you have a Totem Golem that's on the board. It's a 3/4. There's a 3/2 ahead of you, and there's a possible ping to finish it off on the following turn.
Yeah.
This is a way for you to force your opponent to find 2 damage to deal to this thing, which they can't. So essentially, you're buying yourself an extra turn where, right now, Shaman getting an extra turn of doing what the hell they want is ridiculous. Yeah. It's absolutely bonkers. And sometimes it's not about using Rockbite or Lightning Bolt to kill something, because you've already killed the 3/2 with your 3/4. It's about making sure your guy stays alive without relying on some healing totem gimmick. Mm-hmm. And that, I found, happens way too frequently. And if you can use that little +1, it's like a powered shield. Just look at it as a powered shield for Shaman. Like that. That's really
powered shield draws a card, I want to say. Sure. And
it's important.
That's a big deal.
It is a really big deal. Yeah.
But one thing that's kind of cool about this card is that it makes your bad draws a little bit less bad. The draws where you're stuck skipping a turn, you have to totem. Now that's actually less bad. Now you can do more than just
and you've got Thing from Below, which wants you to have totems as well. So toteming up doesn't feel as bad anymore nowadays. So anyway, I guess we'll close the conversation off because it is a one-cost buff. It's not super complex, but it's fun and rather good, I must say.
Okay.
Okay.
Speaking of cards that are bad because they buff things, so we've got Addled Grizzly. That's a druid card that actually I wanted to bring up just because when the expansion was first released, druid was one of the classes where I saw potential for all kinds of different decks. Just ramp. I mean, crazy ramp. With Naga or Astral or even Aviana. Or even just like token, right? And this kind of falls into the token type of archetype. And I thought that maybe some folks would try to utilize this card, and just try to, use more token-based minions, even like the Tide, the new Tide Hunter, things like that. But we haven't seen that at all. So I guess my question is do you think this card is just not good enough, or is, again, just buffing? They purposely didn't make this card just super good or good enough because like being able to buff multiple minions is crazy good in Hearthstone.
I think this card's probably not good enough. I'm comparing it to Power of the Wild personally. They're both ++1/+1 on your things, right?
Yeah.
So this works with any kind of summon, right? This will work with Summoning Stone or Violet Teacher or whatever. Is that true?
Yep.
Yeah, it works with all.
Not just stuff from hand like Hobgoblin.
No. It's
Right.
summon. It's the keyword summon, right? So.
Okay, so compare this to Power of the Wild. It's 3 mana for a 2/2. It's just never going to stick around is the issue. So you have to play this and the thing that you're going to buff in the same turn, or that you're going to summon. So does this work with Haunted Creeper?
It works with Creeper. It works with Living Roots. It works with Living Roots is probably the
Living
best.
Roots
The other Roots
one.
is the best. Yeah, it's probably one of the
Too
best.
is, I guess maybe if Haunted Creeper were still around, this maybe could be a card that does stuff, right? Like if you like Haunted Creeper into Imp Gang Boss, into Addled Grizzly, and Suicide My Guys, maybe that would be a thing. But this is a Druid card, and Haunted Creeper's rotated out, so I'm not sure how to enable it.
Mark Keeper's not terrible too, right? You can get a 4/4/3/3.
Sure, but the thing is, like, it's a huge prerequisite. Like, one of the things that this card does is it makes you want to put it on the board before you play something else, which means either you play it on curve and it dies because it's a 2/2, or you play it later on.
Yeah.
No, but that's what I'm saying. You could play Spawn of N'Zoth on curve. It's like it's less dangerous. Because effectively, if you trade it, like, people might be tempted to leave that guy up more often than not. And if you've already got something else on the board, they have to address that and then the spawn and not the other way around. And if it lives and you trade it away when you play your turn 4, it still buffs everything by +1/+1. So, like, the niche that this guy, the Addled Grizzly, is trying to fill, I just maybe like Wisps and, like a Hobgoblin substitute in a Hobgoblin deck in Wild. It's just kind of an extra one of those.
Just a little.
The problem is,
go ahead.
It's gonna die every time as soon as you play it.
Yeah,
so you have to summon minions the same turn as you spawn this guy, and this guy costs 3 mana. So where do you find the mana to spawn those other guys? You need to have like a Death Rattle guy that's dying off the turn that you play Addled Grizzly or something like that.
Pretty much.
And just Haunted Creeper's gone, so I don't see where the support is for this card. Power of the Wild does sort of a similar +1/+1 thing, but it also synergies with Violet Teacher. And it has the option to be a 2 mana 3/2, which is actually close to on power curve, whereas 3 for a 2/2 is way below the power curve.
Yeah, I think that's the best comparison, usually with Power of the Wild. Just because, practically speaking, you're right. It's only going to live a turn, so Power of the Wild is going to be more consistent and generally higher value. It'd be cool to see some of these buffs. Like, one thing I've been wanting so much, like, and even previous expansion, previous expansions, is just like the ability to just like flood boards like constantly, right? And flood boards with not just 1/1s, but also 2/2s. That'd be crazy powerful, obviously. But
I mean, Fandral Staghelm and Wisp to the old gods,
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
You just gotta do it, man.
That's. You gotta get Emperor though. If Dark Whispers was still around, oh my god, that'd just be crazy. Let's see. Okay, next card that we're going to discuss, one more here, is going to be Embrace, the Shadow, the Priest card that everybody's Valen Prophet dreams were like going through their minds whenever they were seeing this card.
I believe.
So Zalae, you want to talk about this card?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that goes through your mind when you see this card is, well, this is a worse Alkanai. Why wouldn't I want to pay 2 mana for a 3/5, right?
Yeah.
Really? I thought the opposite.
You thought this is a better Alkanai? Well, it's better with Circle and it's better when you're killing people.
Right,
so
right.
I think it's better.
Yeah.
But also just I would play more than 2 Alkanies, right? Wouldn't you?
Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
now you can play more than 2 Alkanies, and it's not always worse. It's again, it's better with Circle. That's a crazy strong clear. It leaves you with more mana to do stuff, and it's better when you're just trying to kill somebody, and therefore you don't care about the body. It's just on the last turn of the game when you're bursting them out. It's better.
Yeah.
And also it procs Wild Pyromancer. That's the third thing that it does.
Right.
Wildfire. Yeah.
I really like that card. Corrupted Healbot also lot easier to weave in. I don't know if you play N'Zoth Priest, but you play like one Embrace the Shadow in that deck, right? And you occasionally get a free 8 damage to the face as an added bonus. You play this with the Darkshire Alchemist on turn 7. That's like a 5 damage ping to a target of your choice. In Priest, that's huge. That is huge.
I think that's been the most consistent usage of it for me, is the Alchemist, because otherwise it's just a normal heal, right? It's very rare that you're gonna get the Soul Priest into that Alchemist turn very cleanly, right? So Embrace has been pretty flexible in that way, and I almost think it's essential in just a lot of the Priest decks that I've been playing recently that just needed that additional flexibility of removal with my heal cards. And yeah, it's a really good card. I think there's still a lot of potential of people, just refinement of decks to figure out the perfect type of usage, or just the way to build around this type of Soul Priest and Embrace the Shadow. But I can see this being a major part of the meta down the road, and we might even see it this week. Who knows?
It's nice to see a little more redundancy and therefore consistency for Priest. That's something the class really struggled with as like a class that's always trying to combo cards. So many of the old Priest lists, you had Alkani and then just like a million enablers to go with the Alkani, and now we have more Alkanies.
Yeah,
so you can do things more consistently.
It's true. I guess redundancy does, it's funny how every single class has some form of redundancy on a level or another. Like Druid has a billion ways to ramp. Mages have a billion ways to deal damage to your face, like with spells. And Shaman got Crackle in GVG, which made Lava Burst good again. It's just, one of those, every single class has had that redundancy besides Priest. And what they gave is, you got Velen's Chosen in GVG, and now we're getting, I guess, Tentacles, which is supposed to substitute. The poor Velen's. It's supposed to substitute, I'm sorry. It just doesn't. But there's, so much... the redundancy we're getting in Priest, just Excavated Evil with Holy Nova, Shadow Word Horror as an additional removal.
I don't like
all the redundancy they gave us. Sure, but what I'm saying is they gave us redundancy in Priest, but it's just it didn't matter because we already were doing fine on that front. So giving us that extra Alkani was, I think, the most necessary step. And even these days, I'm considering running 2 Embraces and 1 Alkani because I find that I very often can't play the Alkani. The effect for 4 when I need it, and I would just I would pay to just be able to play the extra damage on Darkshire on 7, or just be able to get an extra maybe flash heal in the deck that you run. If you start going full redundancy in that deck, there's a lot more removal options with Embrace.
I've actually considered, just because Shifter takes up 4 now too, right? If you're playing in a Zoth deck. And before Aconite Soul Priest was just the 4-drop, and maybe you add. I mean, there was no other 4-drop to add to it. Maybe piloted before, but generally a Priest you don't play that, right? So if outside of Dragons, of course, Dragons obviously have Twilight Guardian, but I was actually considering it recently too. I was playing 2 Shifters, and then I was like, man, I have a lot of 4-drops here, and I'm only playing 1 Embrace, and I feel like I'm in a lot of situations where I could use that just flash heal just to kill something, and I don't have enough mana to play, another minion that's, not Aconite Soul Priest, or I ran out of Aconite Soul Priest. So
Shifting Shade was really the card that made me change my mind. Speaking of that, Zalae, have you played a lot with Shifting Shade? The
4-3? The 4-3?
I've played a little bit of it. It's a pretty good card, right?
If you play N'Zoth,
I was wondering.
playing N'Zoth,
It's kind of a given in the Zoth Priest.
I haven't had as much time to play Priest as I would like yet. It's definitely on my... There's so many things I want to play right now.
I know, right? Exactly. Well...